Hello and welcome back to the S&S Football Podcast. We are back for a very, very weird episode considering that we haven't uploaded in 6 months until yesterday when I uploaded the first stream again. We're back again with the Deadline Day stream. We are here for the last hour of Deadline Day and I am delighted to be joined by Chelsea Morgan. Morg, how are you, mate?
I'm good. It's good to be back. It's been a while.
I know, it has been a very long while since anything has happened on this channel, really. And hopefully at some point tonight as well, Braden will be able to come across and join us. But firstly, mate, how have you been keeping?
Yeah, not too bad. Football season been keeping me going pretty well. So I've had plenty to keep an eye on. But other than that, no, it's been good. How have you been?
I've been all right, mate. The Villa have had a bit of a topsy turvy season. I've managed to go to a fair few games this season. More Plymouth Argyle than
Well, that's
Aston
the only one
Villa,
that matters.
which is very questionable from my point of view. But I've tried to get to as many Villa games as I physically can. But to start off with, I want to ask you this. What are your thoughts on Chelsea this season? Just a quick 2 to 3 minute dissection, because I'm really interested to hear from your point of view what your opinions are of Chelsea this season, because they haven't been, I don't think, what most people would have expected them to be.
We haven't been what anyone expected us to be because after winning the Champions League in May, it was right. It's got to be the league. It was do what Liverpool did. It was go Champions League, done. And it was looking like that way, August, September, October, those first few months of the season, we were top. The team was playing well, but we had a core starting 11. And I think everyone knew a couple players could get injured and that team was going to fall apart. And that is what's happened.
Yeah.
The Reece James and Ben Chilwell injuries have been so crucial to the season because the people that can replace them in those positions are just nowhere near the same quality. And it's nothing to do with the management. It's part of the issue that we've seen actually in this transfer window. There is so much dead wood at Chelsea from so many failed transfer windows in the past that you have so many players that just aren't of the standard we need. So it's now at a point where we're not good enough to compete on a 38-game season, but we are good enough in a one-off game. Hence why we can win the Champions League. We could win the League Cup, the FA Cup, but we won't win the league. Not a chance.
I think Chelsea have been a really difficult one this season, because I'll admit to you, I'm very, very baffled how Chelsea haven't bought anyone in this transfer window. I really did think that this would be a transfer window that Chelsea had target to try and maybe offload a bit of the deadwood. But unfortunately, like you mentioned, the injuries have meant that players like Marcus Alonso are now getting a lot more game time than probably intended. And it was that month of December where Chelsea really fell off a cliff.
December always ruins Chelsea. It doesn't matter what we're going for. December is just a cursed month, It shouldn't exist.
I mean, the most alarming thing from my point of view is that Chelsea's only win in that month was against Villa at Villa Park. So from that
was the only game Lukaku played well in as well.
Exactly. So it's always against Villa that sort of nonsense happens. But look, I did think that Chelsea would be the team that pushed Man City this season. I think we all did, bringing in Lukaku for the fee that you did.
We all said it, didn't we? We all said it last season. There was one piece missing. Even with the Champions League win, there was one piece missing. It was a striker. Maybe opinions have changed. I think Gianfranco Zola said it before Lukaku came in that Chelsea didn't need a striker. They had a system where a false nine was working, Havertz dropping deeper, Mount and whoever else was playing, pushing further up was working. And I do think that there were so many things come out. There was one recently, I can't remember what game it was after, but there was a build-up play graphic come up.
Yeah.
And everyone touched the ball apart from Lukaku. That ball never went into the centre because Chelsea is still using him as a target man. He can't fit the system or Tuchel can't properly get him in. But for me, it's more he needs to work his way into the Chelsea system, not the other way around, because this is clearly a successful season, a successful system that worked last season. So There's there's so many issues, but this transfer window has been. I think Chelsea don't want to pay over the odds for anyone,
Hmm.
and people know a right wing back and a left wing back are urgent because we could lose Aspilicueta for nothing, we could lose Christensen for nothing, Rudiger for nothing.
Yeah,
We need support in those positions. I think they want to play Malang Sarr as a left wing back now, which just blows my mind because he's a centre back.
yeah.
And I think Reece James is just about to come back, but we have been tarnished with injury. Our whole midfield has gone at some point. Kante, Jorginho, Kovacic have all been injured at some point.
Because I would agree with you. I think tactically, I think Thomas Tuchel's system is it's perfect for Chelsea, really, and I'm very impressed with how Chelsea perform on a tactical level. You know, when Chelsea played against Villa, obviously going 1-0 down in the first half, you know, I thought, got to be honest, going into half time, I was really, really positive. And the way that Chelsea came out second half and the football that you were playing was phenomenal at times. But I do fear with Chelsea, and I don't know whether you'll agree with me here, but I actually think you've probably got a squad overload and an option overload in each position. In that, especially in those forward areas, it's what combination actually works. What's the most effective? What is the most effective for the system? Because you have got the likes of Werner, Lukaku, Havertz, Mount, Ziyech, all these players trying to fit them into the same team. It can
It
cause its own issues at times, and I have seen it at points this season with Chelsea.
it's the remnants of that mental transfer window last summer, the Frank Lampard summer, after finishing the Champions League places, where we signed everyone. We wanted a player, we got him. We didn't pay too much. We didn't pay over the odds, apart from with Havertz, arguably. But Chelsea set the target and they got them. And all of a sudden, like you say, we had Ziyech, Havertz, Werner, Thiago Silva, Malang Sarr, so many players come in so quickly, all in it, mostly in attacking positions, leaving the defence pretty bare bones. And that's where
Yeah,
the issue has been. We've got a good attack, but still, after nearly 24 months of having all these players, we still don't know what the best attack is. We don't know what the best front three is. And while we've got a good back five, when it's fit, when an injury comes in, we look so vulnerable. You look at Liverpool, even if an injury comes in, they've figured out that they had a start 11 last season, and they needed to get a quality replacement for someone like Van Dijk because last season that was their big issue. City have got a
yeah,
better B team than pretty much any other Premier League first team. You know, it's stupid how good their bench and reserves are, but
yeah.
Chelsea are nowhere near that level. Haven't been near that level for a long time. And Chelsea's culture is all wrong. Like, you look at the average points since winning the league in 2017, it's roughly 70 points every year. You can't win the league with that
Yeah.
anymore. You need at least
No.
90 points.
And do just lastly on Chelsea before we do move on to the transfers, as a Chelsea fan going into this second half of the season, how are you feeling about it? Because for me, Chelsea are they're in a really difficult position because they haven't strengthened the squad, which to me, if I was a Chelsea fan, I would be looking at that and going, is there that belief that we can actually make up that gap? Because let's be honest, City are not invincible. They have been beaten this season. They can be beaten, but are we seeing Chelsea almost throw the towel in on this season and go, do you know what? We'll go all out in the summer again and try to go from the start and go for a full season? Or what is it with Chelsea? What's the aim for the second half of the season? Because at the moment, it's dithering out into a pretty pointless year for most Chelsea
Well,
fans.
the league's gone. I think
Mhm.
you ask any head screwed on Chelsea fan, they'll say the league is gone
Yeah.
because City are too consistent, Liverpool are too consistent. We are not.
Hmm.
The champion, but we still have the Champions League, the FA Cup, the League Cup, and the Club World Cup. So we've still got four competitions that could
Yeah.
all result in a trophy. The Club World Cup is obviously starts in a week, I think. It's quite soon.
Yeah. It's very.
Um, yeah, it's just after the FA Cup game, so hopefully, get something out of that because most of the teams in that are from Saudi Arabia. I think other than it's three like Saudi Arabian
Yeah,
teams and then like
it is.
Palmeiras. It's a really odd mix.
It's a very odd competition, I have
It's
to
a
admit.
very weird competition because well they're redoing it after this year.
Yeah.
But so there's that one which we should be targeting to win. It's the only trophy Chelsea have never won. The League
Mhm.
Cup, obviously, we're in the final. If you're in the final, you imagine, there's only one way you can see that result going for both teams. The FA Cup, we've been in the final the last 2 years. Now is the time to go and win it again.
Yeah, definitely.
Champions League is where I think those three trophies are very winnable. The Champions League, I don't think we'll do it again. So I think it could just be domestic, a domestic cup double, Club World Cup, Super Cup, which would still be four trophies out of the season.
Yeah, I definitely think that Chelsea are still up for trophies this season. I do question where the season's
It's not
going from that view.
it's not the season we wanted. Like I said at the start, we
Yeah,
wanted to win the league. We wanted to be back, you know, the force driving the Premier League on, and like I said, we haven't been that since Antonio Conte's first season, and that's where Chelsea fans are disappointed because it's
yeah,
the one area that you have a bit more care about. That's where you get your
yeah,
bragging rights.
yeah, 100%. Um, Anyway, moving on from Chelsea. Okay, down the bottom we have got a half of the transfers that have happened in the Premier League on deadline day. Okay, two of them are outgoings. That is Nat Phillips going to Bournemouth on loan and Freddie Woodman going to Bournemouth on loan. So quite clearly, Bournemouth in the Championship seeing this as a fantastic opportunity to try and get into the Premier League because they have had a few poor results of late. But let's look at some down the bottom. Obviously, Christian Eriksen to Brentford. That was confirmed this morning, quite early on deadline day. Wout Weghorst to Burnley is one that I'm sure we need to talk about. Donny
Sean
van
Dyche
der
doesn't
Beek.
realise the world exists.
I just can't believe it. He's gone from playing Lille in the Champions League to playing Leeds United away next week. It's just mental. We're going to leave Donny van der Beek's loan to
Yeah,
Everton for a certain someone. Um, One that's going to hurt me to say, but I'm going to have to say it. Rodrigo Bentancur, he has gone to Spurs today for a fee of £20 million. It hurts because Villa were robbed of the deal. Really, he chose Spurs over Villa, which I got no saltiness towards him. I definitely have, but at the end of the day, he's joined Tottenham Hotspur, so good luck to him. But
he won't
don't
win a trophy.
he won't win a trophy, and don't play well when you come Villa Park because you won't even get a good reception anyway. Um, Kulusevski from Juventus has also gone to Spurs on loan, though. Matt Target to Newcastle on loan. I've got to admit, I do want to talk about that at one point because I'm not really that happy with that. Julian Alvarez has gone to Manchester City. Dennis Unzav has gone to Brighton from the Belgian league, a forward player that has got a lot of promise that I'm sure Brighton are going to be hoping can get firing quite quickly because goals is something that Brighton have always struggled with. But Morg, I want to ask you, any transfers there that really stand out to you? Any deadline day deals that really stand out?
I think I know it was in the works for a while, but Christian Eriksen to Brentford, I know obviously everything that's happened with him in the last well, nearly a year now since the Euros, but the fact that he's been able to come back to a club that's moving in the right direction under Thomas Frank,
Yeah,
I think he is a player that while he won't have the same quality he had at Inter Milan last season, he won't have the strength to be able to do that. But what he can bring is that know-how, that calmness, that experience into the dressing room that could ultimately push them to have a very solid end to this season in the Premier League and then push on next season.
yeah,
Brentford are in a really good spot under Thomas Frank. They've been kept very grounded, made sensible signings, and this is the first time where they've gone for a household name. And it feels like the right time for them to start pushing into try and get into the Premier League top half, and maybe even flirt with the European places.
Yeah, definitely. I think, look, Christian Eriksen, there's no doubt that he is a world class footballer. And look, it remains to be seen. But going to a club like Brentford, where midfield wise, they've got a lot of options, but Brentford do play really good football. And I've got to admit, when Villa lost to Brentford away a couple of weeks ago on my birthday, Brentford were they were very poor in the first half, and it was quite obvious which areas they needed to improve. Midfield, they did look a little bit lackluster. In the second half, they looked a lot better and much more improved than the Brentford we've seen for the rest of the or most of this season. But I do think Ericsson going in there is a fantastic bit of business, especially considering that he is technically a free agent, so it is just
Yeah.
wages. So it's a very clever bit of business from Brentford. It really
Well,
is.
it's a no lose. If it
Yeah.
doesn't come off, you've still got a wise head in the dressing room. If it comes off, you look like a genius. Ericsson looks like an amazing player, and you put yourself on a whole new level.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, look, even if Christian Eriksen doesn't work out, I firmly believe that Eriksen is the type of player that would then go and do his coaching badges, and he could potentially then be a coach within Brentford. I do think that Christian Eriksen's career is probably only going to last 2 to 3 years at a push because of what's
Yeah.
happened before. But I have no doubt that if he goes to Brentford, he's going to train hard. You know, he was training with Ajax before the move to Brentford. He was pictured with Ajax, so quite clearly he's trying to get himself ticking over. But look, it's a great sentimental signing. I personally think that in terms of deadline day signings, I think a lot of the best transfers have actually been made before, and I think
Yeah.
you'll probably agree. I think there's a lot. I think deadline day's actually been quite quiet in the Premier League compared to last few seasons. I mean, the Dele Alli saga, I believe, is still ongoing, but that looks
Uh,
like it's going
it's
to get done.
been given the here we go by Fabrizio Romano saying contracts are all signed, just waiting on official announcement.
Lovely. So, bit of breaking news there. Dele Alli, it looks as though is going to be going to Everton. And I do want to come to you about Everton. We're not obviously going to talk about Donny van der Beek until a certain someone is here, but a lot has been going on at Everton. Firstly, Everton have appointed Frank Lampard on a 2.5 year deal. As a Chelsea fan and
Couldn't be happier.
as Lampard's former managerial club, give me a bit of insight on this one. How are you feeling about it?
Couldn't be happier. On the back of this shirt that has the final Munich is Frank Lampard's name.
Get on.
You know, I have him. He is very close to my heart. My favourite player growing up. So when he was managing Chelsea, it was a dream scenario for me. It couldn't have been better. Obviously, things didn't work out. We saw the improvements that needed to be made when Thomas Tuchel came in. It was too early in his career for a big club, for that bigger club. But Everton is the perfect club. They have aspirations of European football. Right now, they aren't anywhere near that. He has a project there. He can build that club up in his mindset and how he wants it to work from the bottom all the way through to the first team. You've already seen it with the signings today that he wants to work on players. He doesn't want to bring in top players straight away. Van der Beek, Dele Alli, they're going to take time to bed in, to nurture into the talents that everyone knows they can be. I just think it's the perfect scenario for him to be in because look at what he did at Derby. He took a side that I think they either just lost in the playoff semi final the year before, maybe the playoff final, but they were in and around the playoffs. And that's a tough team to take over. I've seen it watching the EFL for years. Teams that lose in the playoffs can have a massive drop off. So to get them back in the playoff final takes some doing. And I think he can do the same thing at Everton, where he just galvanises that squad, gets them to a mid-table finish this season, and then who knows what he could do. I wish him all the best until he plays Chelsea.
I mean, I definitely. Do you know what? I 100% agree with you when you say that it was way too early in his managerial career because managing Chelsea at the time that he did, no manager really under the Chelsea regime has long tenures. Let's
No.
be honest here. So
Well, the
Frank
longest tenure
Lampard
is what, 3 years?
exactly. So Lampard going into that job, look, it was always going to happen. You know, look, he got Derby to a playoff final. They lost to us, but he then goes on to Chelsea, and in my opinion, he did really well at bringing through some
Yeah.
players that, if you look at now, that are in the Chelsea team, he was the one that gave them the opportunity. And
Well, in the Chelsea team
look,
and beyond, Tomori, AC Milan, Abraham at Roma, they wouldn't be there
yeah,
without Frank Lampard.
exactly. So for me, he did. Yes, all right. It didn't work out maybe how Chelsea fans would have liked it to, but I I think he will do well at Everton. I've got to be honest. I do think he will do well. But the one thing, I did a whole show yesterday, and a lot of it was about Everton and Watford. And Everton are not a very well-run football club. They've
No,
got the owners have got a lovely intention of spending a ton of money on anything. But the issue that they've got is that the money is not being spent right. And Everton have become another club that have not got a structure in place that actually translates down to the pitch. They haven't got, I didn't even realise this, they haven't got a sporting director. They haven't really
see,
got
that's
a head
poor.
of recruitment. It's it's
That's
mind
poor.
blowing. It's mind blowing how badly a club that it's run, and it's actually no surprise at all that they've signed players like Alex Iwobi for £40 million, because who is advising these transfers? Who has been the one
Who's
to go
signing
ahead?
off?
Exactly. It has been an absolute shambles at Everton. They've went through so many managers. They've bought so many players, and their squad is just an absolute mishmash of different managers' philosophies, and that's
Yeah.
why Everton look like such a disjointed team on the pitch, because there's so many different philosophies and playing styles within one side that it really isn't piecing together. But I do believe that Frank Lampard is going to bring in a wealth of youth. It looks like he's going to bring in two really good players in Van der Beek, which is already confirmed, and Dele Alli. He's already got Miaenko, the Ukrainian left back that seems to
Yeah.
be talked about an awful lot. Godfrey's a very good player. Richarlison's obviously, he is what he is. He's a Premier League proven player. Calvert-Lewin is now back fit. So there's a lot to be excited about from an Everton point of view. But I do think that Lampard will have gone in there with guarantees that the top end of the club is going to get sorted out, because
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to be able to work in a regime that Everton have been working in previously. Because if Ancelotti couldn't work in it, and if
Benitez.
Ancelotti and Benitez couldn't work in that regime, it
Then it's
it's
not
going to
bad
take a
news.
real lot from Frank Lampard to do well here.
It would be career suicide if he'd walked in with no guarantees or with nothing said about, excuse me, the top end of the club.
Yeah,
The issue, I think, and it's going back to Chelsea, and it's something that a lot of clubs have tried. Chelsea have a very weird model, and I don't know how it works. I don't think anyone could tell you why it works. The hire and fire at Chelsea, for some reason, keeps success. We can get rid of managers every 2 years and still win stuff. Everton, Watford, United recently have all tried it, have all tried to get a manager. Or you're not instantly working. We'll get you going to get the next guy in line in, and for all of them, they've gone backwards. Managers need time. I know it's a cliche in modern football because you don't get time, but managers need time to implement philosophies, get the players in that they want, have at least 2, 3 transfer windows to get the players in to make it your squad. And that's the issue. Like you said, you see at Everton where there are so many players from so many. There's still players from when Sam Allardyce was there. Sam Allardyce will play a completely different style of football to Carlo Ancelotti and Rafa Benitez. One plays long ball,
100%.
one wants to play it all the way through the thirds. And like you say, the owners have these big plans. Oh, we're going to move everything to the docks. We're going to build a brand new stadium ready for Champions League football. That's great. Put the infrastructure in behind the scenes. Make sure that these players that are coming in are signed off by footballing people. Don't sign them off as the boards, because you know that from a business perspective. You don't see it on the pitch. That's where I I didn't even know that there was no sporting director or head of football at Everton. That's taken me by surprise because even in League One, watching Argyle, Argyle have a head of football who used to be at Everton.
Yeah, 100%. Lucas, hi, mate. I hope you are enjoying the stream. It is nice of you to join us. And following on from what you said, mate, I've been to watch Plymouth Argyle a lot this season, and I've been mega impressed with the football that they've been playing. I was going to Plymouth at the start of the season when they were on the run that they were, and the football was phenomenal. And with the job that I'm in, I can actually delve into what goes on inside the football club. And for a League One football club to have a better infrastructure from the inside than a Premier League football club that are one of the oldest in the Premier League. Remember, Villa and Everton is the most played fixture in English football. You would think a historic club like Everton would be run a lot better than it has, and it's been neglected. It really has. It's been neglected.
But it's been neglected for so long. Sorry, I've just had some transfers come in. So Crystal Palace have
Lovely.
signed Jean-Philippe Mateta from I don't know where, but that's just popped up. And
Minds.
Liverpool are finalising a deal to sign Fabio Carvalho from Fulham.
Lovely. So we have just had some breaking news from Morg. Thank you, Morg. So, as Morg has just said, Fabio Carvalho to Liverpool from Fulham looks to be getting done, and Mateta is going to Crystal Palace on a permanent deal. He used to play for Mainz in the Bundesliga, and he is now officially a Crystal Palace player. A player that, I've got to be honest, hasn't really been getting much game time at Crystal Palace because Crystal Palace do have so many attacking options. But he is a good player, and he's a player that Patrick Vieira clearly likes, and they've brought him to the club permanently, which is a very good bit of business in this last hour for Crystal Palace.
If
So,
Patrick Vieira likes you as a player, there's something there for you because he knows he will be able to recognise quality the same as all these top professionals that are coming into top level management, and he's proven himself in. Was he in the American League? I don't want to get that wrong. Vieira.
yes. Yeah, he was with
Yeah, he
New
was.
York.
That was it. But he's proven himself before coming across to England, and he's done a really good job at quite a stale Palace side under Roy Hodgson. Put them back on the map really, and I think this signing is another step in the right direction for them.
100%. I think Palace have really got a lot to be excited about, and I will talk about them in a minute. But just to wrap up the points that we were talking about before, when you mentioned about Chelsea and the reason why the hiring and firing works at Chelsea, Chelsea are able to attract elite level managers that are tactically so good that they can implement a system and profile the players within that squad to fit their system. You know, we've seen Antonio Rudiger, Christensen, these players that look dead and buried at Chelsea, and he has turned them into elite footballers again. And this is the thing, unfortunately, at clubs like Everton and at clubs like Watford, they haven't got the resources.
Yeah.
They can't attract that elite level manager. But what's confusing about Everton is they could. They attracted two elite managers, and even those two still couldn't find players that fit the system.
It baffles me that they let Ancelotti go without a whimper.
Yeah,
Ancelotti is the only one that I've seen at Everton in the last, well, probably since David Moyes actually, that has looked like taking them back towards a consistent European place. It was so confusing that they just pretty much gave him to Real Madrid. He gave them their first Merseyside derby win in God knows how long. He had them in a playing style. He has a pull that not many other managers can have, and he has that aura about him that people are gonna listen to him. He will have control of that football club. Benitez, that was a lamb to the slaughter. He was never going to work at Everton. I said it from day one. An ex-Liverpool manager with the amount of success he had at Liverpool going to Everton, you're never going to get the fans on side of either Merseyside club. You're never going to fully have the respect of anyone there. It was a complete mismatch from the word go. Even when the talks are going on, no one connected to Everton seemed happy with it, and you could see that because while the team were playing poorly on the pitch, and everyone outside of Everton could see that the team just wasn't clicking. The fans just were berating beneath us. They saw it as completely entirely his fault. So, but again, that could come from not having that head of football to say this isn't the right move to make. Go for the X, Y, Z. Going
And
for Frank Lampard. Go on.
I definitely think that I went to watch Villa Everton at the start of this season when it was the beginning of Rafa's tenure. And before the game, prior to the game, they'd actually won 4 and drew 1 of their opening 5, or I think won 3 and drew 1 of their
They had a
opening
really
4.
good start.
They were I was going into the game a little bit scared because Villa hadn't had a great start to the season. And all of a sudden, Everton rock up. And I've got to admit, mate, for 60 minutes, honestly, they looked. I said it on the stream yesterday. They were genius. The areas that they were forcing Villa into, they looked really dangerous on the counter attack. They looked like a typical Rafa side.
Yeah.
But they conceded 3 goals in 10 minutes and fell apart. And I couldn't believe my eyes watching what was going on the last. It was just 10 minutes of madness. Everton just absolutely fell apart. And when we were coming out the ground, we ran into 2 Everton fans. And it was really interesting to hear. They actually turned around to me at that time when they were 3rd in the Premier League with 10 points from 4 games, or 10 points after 5 games after they lost to us. And they said, we don't believe in Rafa. We can't understand the appointment. And as soon as the results go like this, he'll be out the door. And look, it's a classic example of owners not listening to the fans. And this is why I love my football club currently, because our owners are listening to the fans. And I love it so much because I look at Everton, their fans are not, there's no saying what's going on there. And I hope that Frank Lampard works out for him. But it is time.
Oh,
go on, carry on.
I was just going to say, they're just a really frustrating football club because, like you said, there's so much history, there's so much quality to Everton. To see them kind of waste it is really frustrating.
Massively. So, it is time to welcome back someone to the channel that we haven't seen in a long while. Braden, here he is in the stream. Braden, how are you, mate?
I'm good. I mean, I would have preferred a bit of a better transfer window for the old tricky Reds, but apart from that, I mean, I'm cushy.
He lives.
So, Braden, we've saved this one for you because we want you to kick it off. Now, we've been talking Everton quite a lot, so if there's any Scousers that are from the blue side of Merseyside, they're going to love this stream. But talk to me, Braden. Donny van der Beek has signed for Everton on loan until the end of the season. What are you thinking, mate?
Mate, I'm not gonna lie. I'm just happy for the lad. I mean, at the end of the day, I'd definitely much rather see him, hopefully thrive at a club like Everton. I know Palace was also linked with him as well, and I think there was a club overseas. But I'd much rather see him thrive for the last, second half of the season, and then obviously you can come back to United in the summer with fingers crossed a new manager, and fingers crossed that's Ten Hag, because that would work lovely. But I mean, at the end of the day, everyone thought that the summer he'd go, but then obviously Ollie at the time kind of said, no, he's going to be a massive part for us this season. He's going to stay. Great news to hear, but he didn't back up his bullshit. So he was still super glued to the bench. And it's been really poor, just sort of the way United have handled him, to be honest. And I'm not being funny. Some of the games McFred and even Matic have played this year have been criminal. Absolutely criminal. And the fact that this bloke can't even start, I mean, I don't even want to know the minutes he's actually got this year in the Premier League, is just a farcical, to be honest, because they're getting away with murder. And we all know United need a CDM. I mean, we've been crying out for one ever since, Matic's leg started to go. But look, Rangnick then come in and we thought, right, here we go. He's going to keep him and, him and like Lingard and players like that will get chances. And they haven't. And, at the end of the day, he has to go and play. He wants to get in the World Cup squad for the Netherlands in obviously the winter. I know that a lot of that will be down to when he comes back to United in the summer, but he needs to play. He's a top player. I think any club, even in the top six, would probably have him. If you look at City, Liverpool, they'd all have him. I mean, so he's just such a good player, and it's just a shame it hasn't worked out. And I think someone said over on Kieran's channel, the highlight of our window has been Van der Beek leaving on loan to get game time. That's ridiculous, and I feel sick that we've been absolutely like torn apart this window. Like you've had Ahmad go on loan, Martial, Van der Beek, and nothing's come in. Absolutely nothing. And you look at players like I said, Zakaria went for was it 5 mil to Juventus. Haidara absolutely loves us, and he's worked with Rangnick before. Kamara of Marseille got offered to us, and we reacted negatively. I think I seen. So what's going on? Why is like we're trying to get in the top 4 here? We're struggling as it is, and then especially with injuries, and you get rid of 3 players, don't replace them, and we're relying on no one getting injured for the rest of the season. It's madness. But with Donny, I'm happy. I'm over the moon for him. He needs to go and play, and he's working under Lampard. I've always said he's a Lampard type player. He's going to have to be one for him now.
What did you make of the Lingard news when Newcastle, West Ham are pushing to make that signing either on loan or permanently, and United just categorically said no, he's going to stay at the club?
I think with Lingard, I think a permanent move would have been a bit weird right now with the prospect of a new manager coming in 6 months' time. A loan move I would have backed as well because I think he's in the same position as Donny. He hasn't got the game time that he deserved after his spell at West Ham, and he has had a few good performances this season for United. He still hasn't got the game time he deserves. So, again, I think he needed a loan move. But I also understand that United have had some form of brain cell to sort of say, well, hang on a minute. If he goes, we do only have 4 wingers, and that's including Juan Mata. So,
Is he even a winger anymore?
Well, exactly. So, we got Sancho.
We're bringing his Zimmer frame out.
Yeah, mate, Matches should be right behind him. So, we got Rashford, who's obviously been out for a bit of time at the beginning of the season. Sancho obviously had a bit of a bereavement, but he's had a few knocks here and there this season. That's pretty much it. Alanga, and there's our 3 wingers. It only takes one of them to get injured, and we're down to bare bones out wide. So I know we've got Lingard now who's staying, who could come into that, but
yeah, but you're not going to want to play Alanga more than you have to, are you?
Exactly, and with Lingard, is his best position right wing, left wing? Probably not.
No.
When he was balling out for West Ham, it was in the 10, or it was in midfield where he could be influential. So I don't know. It's a difficult one, but the thing I always said with Lingard when he come back from West Ham was he was never going to start over Bruno in the 10. Never in a million years was he going to start. So it's like, well, if you're going to stay, then you got to expect limited game time, unless he's going to play out wide. And it is what it is. But yeah, I can see where United are coming from, keeping him for a little bit of squad depth. I mean, what they do, but I think again he needs game time like Donny.
Well, we'll talk about the bottom 3 and the top 4 shortly, but let's just finish off and wrap up with the Donny van der Beek stuff. Boys, tactically, can Donny be a Mason Mount under Frank Lampard? Can he be that player who starts to produce goals and assists? Because Calvert-Lewin's been injured a lot and he hasn't started very well. Richarlison seems to be struggling to get his goals and assists like he usually does. Everton haven't been creating enough chances. So tactically, boys, do we think that this is a real fit, or did we think there was another club that Donny was better suited to?
I think Van der Beek under Lampard will work. I think, as Braden said, he is a Lampard signing. He can play in the same role that Lampard played in, the 6 that arrives late into the box, poaches on anything, buries it, like we've seen him do for Ajax. I think the only whole thing that can hold Van der Beek back isn't Lampard, isn't himself, it's the team he's gone to. By that, I mean the squads. There are elements of quality with Richarlison, Calvert-Lewin, but they're so they're very finely sprinkled, and players like Richarlison only produce it a couple of months in the season. That he's not consistent enough, and Van der Beek needs someone who he can constantly play the ball into that's going to deliver for him. I think he won't have the same effect Mason Mount had. Mason Mount was a revelation instantly, but he will be the player that can push Everton forwards into the next season. Him alongside Andre Gomez, that's a very good midfield.
And Braden, would you agree? Would you agree with what Morgan said? And obviously, with the potential now that Dele Alli's going to come in as well, who is a 10, so it would free up Donny to play the 6. Do you think that midfield trio could work of Gomez or a Doucouré and then Donny van der Beek and Dele Alli? Do you think that's a promising midfield that Everton fans should be looking forward to for the second half of the season?
I think it is. I mean, there's no doubt with Donny and with Dele Alli, they are two quality players. I mean, obviously Dele Alli's got, I think, attitude problems is the way to put it. Will he work, his nuts off for Everton to try and fight and keep him in the Premier League? We're going to find out. I think Donny will. He will do that. But I think I've always said with Donny United, his best position and the best games he's played has never been in the 10. Never, because he's a completely different 10 to what Bruno is. He almost plays as like a second striker, like on the final line of defence. Whereas with Bruno likes to drop in, influence the play a lot more. So Donny's best performance has always come in like an 8, where he's got Matic or Fred or McTominay once sort of as the holder with Donny, and then you've got maybe Mata or Bruno ahead of him. But the thing about Donny is, I remember having this conversation on here about Lingard a year ago, and we were speaking about him going on loan, and I think he obviously went to West Ham. We were speaking, is that the right club for him? Should he have gone to maybe a Sheffield United or someone like that? And I said at the time, with Lingard, because he was so out of form as well, I think him going to Sheffield United at the time, who obviously massively battling relegation, to have all that pressure just put on him to try and keep them up in a sense, I think that might have killed him. And I hope that doesn't happen to Donny as he becomes the man that needs to try and drag them to safety when he hasn't played next to no football. So he's going to go from nothing to being the man. And it's like, will he handle the pressure? So, of course, I possibly would have liked to have seen him gone to a team higher up in the league. But that opportunity never come. I mean, the only other one was Palace, but he made the decision to go to Everton, Donny. And, you got to respect the player's decision. There's two absolute legendary midfielders wanting him. So there's gaffers. So, you got to rate him highly. So I just hope that the pressure doesn't get put on him too much. Like straight away, he has to be the maverick, the one to drive us forward, to get goals, to keep us up at the end of the day. And again, like I said, coming off of next to no football, it could be a bit of a shock for him. But yeah, I mean, it's a good move. It's a good move. He's going to play. He's going to do more than probably what he gets at United. And the other thing with United as well is we got Pogba coming back, which means Van der Beek getting minutes with Pogba injured means he's not going to get any more with him back in the squad. So again, he had to go on loan somewhere.
Well, I think Van der Beek chose Everton. That's the big thing for me.
Yeah.
Is that he had the choice. He could have picked Palace. He could have picked Everton, and he chose to go that way. So clearly, and the same with the other way. Lampard chose Van der Beek. It was a mutual sign-off. So clearly, there's a project there where they see each other working well, and it's not just going to be we would need to rely on you. There's a system that's already being thought up there.
Yeah, I'd 100% agree, boys, and I think we've really covered that transfer well. I want to rattle through these questions really, really quickly. I just want a short answer. So, what has been the best deadline day signing today? Obviously, there are 2 or 3 that are on the line. I know Carvalho to Liverpool is running out of time. Dele Alli to Everton looks to be done. But out of the transfers at the bottom, they're all Premier League based. There's 2 outgoings from the Premier League. But what has been the best deadline day signing for all of you? I'll come to Braden first.
Oh, it's a good one because I tell you what, hats off to Bournemouth what a deadline day they've had. My word.
Massively.
Mate, I've just come back from training. I'm surprised I didn't get picked up, you know. I thought I'd be on the first bus to Bournemouth. But actually, on second thoughts, the way I play, probably not. But I don't know. I think.
But just before Bournemouth have just signed Todd Cantwell on loan.
Mate,
Wow.
I think Bournemouth, hats off. That's a club. That is a club.
That's a
There's some
signing.
serious signings there. I mean,
I
Kiefer
think-
Moore, Woodman, Cantwell,
Kiefer Moore
Nat
went there.
Phillips. Yep, Sriki Dembele. These are
Dembele
players.
from Peterborough as well, yeah.
That is
I didn't know
players.
half of them.
Yeah, serious.
Oh.
So I think Bournemouth probably win it, hands down. Like, without a shadow of a
Newcastle
doubt.
have signed Dan Burn.
So I think Newcastle have done all right today. Would I say one of theirs is up there? Maybe, but I think Bruno Guimaraes is a great player. But obviously, it's not deadline day. I think Weghorst could be a good one for Burnley. I think that's a really good Wood replacement. To be fair to them, if you're going to replace a striker, you're going to get someone in from the Bundesliga who's got good goal return. So it's a difficult one.
If you had to narrow it down to one, who are we saying? Because obviously, I have got a question here of which Premier League club, but look, Bournemouth, Newcastle have absolutely smashed that one out the water. Bournemouth definitely been the best deadline day team in England, no doubt. But if you had to narrow it down to just one player who you think deadline day came in today is going to have the biggest impact at the club for the second half of the season, who would it be? Just one player.
I like Kulusevski. I think that's a good player. I think that's a really good player for Tottenham. But if you think I'm going to choose anyone else apart from Van der Beek, then you're off. Go with the boy.
And Morg?
I'm going to stick with my earlier answer of Ericsson.
Okay.
I think like I said earlier, the quality he can bring on and off the pitch and the know-how that he can bring to that club will only put Brentford in one direction.
100%. I think...
To be fair, go back to the Newcastle thing, though, they have really used their power well, because obviously we all know the money that club has now got, and they have literally gone, we want you, we'll pay the money straight away, no messing about. They've done the right sort of deal as well. They haven't gone superstar, they've just gone for good quality players that will be successful straight away.
I'm gonna go for quite a weird one here, and I'm probably gonna get outed for saying this, but I actually think that Matt Targett to Newcastle on loan for the rest of the season, for me, is a fantastic signing for Newcastle, and I'm going to explain why. Because Matt Targett gets a lot of stick, and he's been replaced at Villa quite rightly by Luca Din, who is an unbelievable footballer. But Matt Targett knows how to be in a relegation battle. He is a solid left back that is going to perform for Newcastle week in, week out. He's better than Jamal Lewis, so it's an upgrade. And he's a player that has been there and done it, and he's got experience. And yes, all right, he's probably not going to be, the left back that they want in 3 or 4 years' time. But to the end of the season, I genuinely believe that both Dan Burn and Matt Targett could be the best deadline day signings, because they are fantastic defenders that have got pedigree at this level, and they are going to help Newcastle so much stay up, because I do think Newcastle are going to stay up. I didn't have them in my bottom three at the start of the year, and I do think they are going to avoid the drop because they've gone and got Premier League proven talent. They've brought 2 players in today that are Premier League proven. Between Dan Burn and Matt Targett, they've got over 100 Premier League appearances. They're bringing in experienced Premier League players, so I'm going to put it out there. I do think I can't really decide between Matt Targett and Dan Burn, but I think both of them are cracking signings for Newcastle because, as me and Morg said earlier, Braden, I actually think the best transfers have happened earlier on in the window, which leads me on to ask the question, what is the best signing of this January transfer window? Because that now opens it up, all 31 days. Morg, I'm going to come to you first.
I'm going to make you very happy with this one. I'm going to say Felipe Coutinho. Because I think we all know the quality he can bring to the Premier League. We've all seen it firsthand at Liverpool. we've all seen it what he did at Barcelona and Bayern Munich as well. I also think Villa is the perfect club for him to go to. It is a club moving in the right direction, bar a couple shaky patches this season. And I watched that first game that he played against United, and the way he can just move about kind of freely in between the midfield and forward lines, it's something Villa didn't have for a long time, and now they've got that quality. It's such a good signing. Yeah, that's my number one.
And Braden, who's your number one signing, mate? There's been some belters in this window. I mean, I'm going to let you decide because I'm trying to get my head around half of them, to be honest, mate.
Yeah, I've probably forgotten half of them, to be fair. I think, I'll tell you what, I've just seen it come up on the screen now. I think the Julian Alvarez signing by City. It's so clever.
Oh,
it's so clever. It's unbelievable.
Have you seen Ramsey?
Yeah, I've seen Ramsey's at Rangers as well. That's another good signing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that Alvarez signing is so clever by Man City. I mean, it's 20 million. He scored goals at River Plate, obviously. I know he's going to stay there on loan till the end of their season. But if he comes in and even if he doesn't work out, City will probably recoup a bit, like even half of that money for him. He'll go elsewhere. But if he works out, then, they've got a hell of a player on their hand. They're probably still trying to replace Aguero. They haven't quite got him. Whether that leads to a bigger striker in the summer like Haaland, we'll see. But that's a good signing. But the best one of the window, do you know what? I really want to go with Bruno Guimaraes because I think he is such a good signing for Newcastle. And let's be real, we all know the reason he's gone there. But for Newcastle,
it's a very good signing.
For Newcastle to be able to get a player of that quality that Arsenal wanted, he improves Man United's midfield. He could probably go into most top 6 club midfield and improve them. That is unbelievable. And like you said, he can do the DM. He can play as an 8. He can play as a 10. He's got Champions League experience. He's played for Lyon, one of a really good club in France. It's got to have to be that, I think. I think Bruno Guimaraes to Newcastle because I couldn't believe that they actually managed to get it done. I think that's a great deal. And he's right age as well.
Well, just quickly, Aubameyang has agreed a deal to go to Barcelona. They've figured out the financial part of that.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. We are going to speak about transfers that are getting close to the deadline very, very shortly. I'm just going to say that I do think I'm going to go with Guimaraes because I feel as though I'll get a bit of stick for saying Coutinho. Coutinho is 100% up there. But to be honest, Coutinho and Digne are both
same with all
there.
the players United signed.
And Chelsea. Great windows.
I definitely think. To be fair, boys, Villa have tried to offload half of their squad this afternoon, so it's not looking all too rosy at Villa Park anymore. We've probably got rid of about 9 players today. But look, I'll go with Guimaraes. I can't believe Newcastle have signed him. It's the one I can't get my head around. My mate, one of my best mates down here, is a Newcastle fan. He can't quite believe that they've managed to get the pedigree of player of him. And he's obviously going to improve that midfield, no doubt. He walks in there. So, yeah, I think that Guimaraes is 100% the signing of the transfer window. But obviously 2 transfers that we've mentioned. Rangers seem to be doing the business now. I know Braden especially as well as a Scottish football. And look, Amad Diallo scores on his debut for Rangers. First touch, the dream boy has gone to the SPL and knocked it in against Ross County. And now they've signed Aaron Ramsey. I mean, what a window for the Rangers boys, eh?
Mate, I'm just saying, you don't get given the number 9 Rangers shirt if you ain't different gravy. And that's what Ahmad is. That's what he is. I mean, I think, again, he's been a player that's deserved probably a few more chances at United. And I know we've got we did have a lot of players in wide positions. You look at Martial, obviously Rashford, Sancho, Elanga now. But he's been there, and I think he probably has deserved a few more chances in and around the starting 11. I know he got injured at the beginning of the season, and that kiboshed a loan move. But I'm being honest, I saw sort of some of the teams he was linked with. I mean, it was Sheffield United. I'm thinking, mate, he might get kicked the absolute shit out of in that league. So I don't know if that's best for him. But look, I mean, he's hit the ground running. He had not only the goal, but he had a really good performance. Unfortunately, I didn't watch it. Just seen the sort of stats from his performance, and he seemed to have an assured game. But even when we played against Wolves, I think it was last game of last season. We rotated our squad a lot because I think we must have had the Europa League final coming up and whatnot. But he come in as as a number 9, but it's like a false 9. He's never played there for United. He's barely played for United, and he was unbelievable in that game. And it was like he was, 30 odd, and he'd been playing there for 10 years. I mean, kids, they don't just do that. You've got to have something about you. And he has almost fallen under the radar. He was our marquee signing last January for 37 million. Obviously, it got agreed in the summer, but time it went through was becoming January. But yeah, him, Ramsey, mate. Wednesday night, serious game against Celtic, because Celtic didn't start well beginning of the season. Probably a few question marks about the new gaffer they brought in. I'm not going to try and butcher his name, but they've picked up. They have picked up, to be fair to them, and there's a bit of a title race on, obviously, with Gerrard going and Van Bronckhorst coming in. So I think Rangers have adapted well to that change. It hasn't been too rocky, but yeah. Ahmad's a top player. I mean, again, I'm glad it's a loan with obviously no buy, because it gives a new manager at United in the summer a chance to look at him. But he is a top player. He's like, I can't believe how well he's doing, and hopefully he has a really good season for Rangers. Maybe can win the league as well. Again, big pressure for his young shoulders. To go in and be a number 9 or a winger for a club that's fighting for the championship. But I'm sure it'll take it aboard. And as for Aaron Ramsey, I'm slightly surprised a Prem club didn't quite get a deal done for him. Maybe, obviously you look at your Newcastle, that's always going to come to the frame. But to see him at Rangers, I'm not really against it. So again, that's another massive sign in the experience, the quality he's had.
Loan to buy as well.
Loan to buy as well is interesting. Whether that, happens, I mean, Juventus to Rangers in terms of his career, I know he's 31, but, that's his decision, and I'm quite happy with it, to be honest.
I've been impressed with the transition, how well Rangers have coped with the transition. Gerrard's philosophy was fantastic over in the Scottish League, and we've already seen glimpses of it now in the Premier League for my boys Aston Villa. And, I'm really impressed with how Rangers have managed to steady the ship. And me and Morg were talking about this earlier, about clubs setting the foundation so that if you do chop and change a manager, the squad is suited for a certain philosophy, and you go and get a manager that actually goes and suits that philosophy as close as possible. And in Van Bronckhorst, I think they've done that excellently. And look, they're building the squad. They've kept their squad as well. Villa were linked with a lot of their players. As it's going to be.
I thought you were going to raid them, to be fair. Yeah.
Yeah, so, they've done really well to keep hold of the players that they've currently got in their squad. They're in a title charge. Yes, they were gutted that Stevie G left, but Van Bronckhorst has started where Stevie G left off. And from a Rangers point of view, you're signing really, really promising and good players in Diallo and Ramsey there. Ramsey, Welsh international, so many Premier League appearances, and Diallo, one of Man United's talents that hopefully in the future is going to be a rising star and shoot to the top. But I just want to speak to you two boys about the relegation battle down the bottom of the Premier League. Now we are
just quickly, 4, 3, 2, 1, closed.
And the transfer window is closed. Now, one thing that is key to be made aware is, if a certain amount of the paperwork for a deal has been done, it can go past the 11 o'clock deadline. So I imagine that Dele Alli to Everton will be confirmed. I imagine that Fabio Carvalho from Fulham will also be confirmed to Liverpool.
That's just come through as a race against time.
Okay.
That's all that it is a race against time.
Okay. So there may be a few that might pop up afterwards, but the deadline is now closed, completely closed. So any deals that haven't been a certain amount completed cannot be done. Now, this is a big one because the relegation battle is really hotting up. I said yesterday, I thought at one stage it was very easy. It was going to be the lowest points total we've ever seen to stay in the Premier League because we had three terrible teams in Watford, Norwich, and Newcastle because Burnley hadn't been in the situation that they're in now. Burnley now find themselves in a situation where, although they've got a lot of games in hand, they are rock bottom of the Premier League. And Norwich and Newcastle are picking up points, and Watford have just got a new manager. So, talk to me about Wout Weghorst to Burnley then. I can't quite believe it's happened because this guy was playing Champions League football for the first half of this season, and he has now come to Burnley, who are 20th in the Prem, to try and keep them up after Chris Wood went to Newcastle.
Go on, Morgs. I'll let you go first.
Let's go. You have this one. I think it shows a good sense of intent from Burnley. I've just pulled up the Premier League table. They need to show intent because currently they're 4 games less played than Norwich, only 4 points behind. They're in a position where, while I will always say points on the board is better than games in hand, they are theoretically outside the relegation zone. Even with that 4-point gap, you'd expect them to at least get 1 point per game. I think Wout Weghorst, I don't know much about him, but it is a statement sign, and it shows that even if they do go down, there's no intention of staying in the Championship for any more than the season. It's a come down, go straight back up, don't mess about, get a goal instantly. Do I think it's enough to keep them in the Premier League? I think they will have enough, but I don't think he's the one that will do it. Burnley have built this model since coming back up in 2016 of being a very solid defensive side, grinding out 1-0s. And we saw it last season with Sheffield United. There's only so many times a 1-0 will go your way. So I do think that while I think they'll stay up, their lifespan is limited if they don't get the defensive reinforcements in first.
And Braden, mate, following on from what Morg said, Morg still thinks obviously that Burnley are going to stay in the Premier League. Are you on the same boat as that? Do you feel that Burnley are going to avoid the drop this season? Because I'll be honest with you, they're in my bottom 3 this season, and I'm not going to take them out of it. I do think, despite signing Wout Weghorst, I do think they're going to go down. I do think they're going to get relegated.
It's difficult because I think when you look at the teams down and around me, obviously got Newcastle who have heavily invested this window, but again, they've all got a gel, and we spoke about this just now on Kieran's channel. Dan Burns used to playing in a back 3. You've got Trippier and Target, who are both really good going forward, but a lot of questions will be asked of defensively. As good as Bruno Guimaraes is, the Premier League is different to Ligue 1. How quickly can he adapt? Can Chris Wood get firing to help St. Maximin up top? There's a lot of questions there to be asked. So, Newcastle, just because they brought these players in, isn't, they're up, they're safe. They're going to have still a few teething problems, and they're going to have to gel. Watford are a shambles. They're an absolute shambles.
Massively.
They should never have got rid of Xisco Munoz in the first place. So they almost deserve to go down in my books. I think, with Roy coming back in, he'll do his very best to keep him up, I'm sure of it. But, he
won't.
I don't think he will. I don't think he will. And the way that club's run, it's ridiculous. So, again, they're on a sticky wicket. Burnley, again, losing Chris Woods would be a big loss, but he hasn't hit the goals he usually hits, hence why that's where Burnley are where they are. I know they haven't played as many games. Weghorst coming in. Again, he's going to have to adapt. How quickly can he do it? We've seen with Cornet, a player I couldn't believe Burnley signed. He's done really well, adapting to the Premier League, taking it by storm. Could Weghorst do the same? Potentially, and if they do, they've got a really good player that can, propel them to staying up. But again, will the pressure get to him of sort of being one of the man to keep them up? Who else we got in down around there? Norwich. Norwich is just, I don't know.
They're a weird one.
You always, I mean,
weird.
it's just natural for us to say, well, that's right, they'll be down again. You know, it's just yo-yoing all the time. But a big win over Watford, of which seen the FPL grads in the absolute mud. I mean, that was great view, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing. They both captain Josh King. Oh no, sorry, not Josh King,
So
Dennis,
funny.
and Dennis got sent off. That was unbelievable. But yeah, I don't know with Norwich. Uh, Dean Smith he's got out of a job on his hand, and you know he's brought in a couple of decent players, but I don't know. He just needs to get them scoring and winning games because I always feel with Norwich is they're a very good Championship team. You know they're always too good for it, as we've seen. They usually win the league, but every time they come to the Prem, they just do not have the quality to stay in it. And you know this could be another
Seen
case.
that before, though,
Who
haven't we?
knows? We have.
Seen that before with QPR, and it's a common thing that you can be really good in the Championship and just nowhere near enough in the Premier League. They either try too hard in the summer transfer window after coming up, or they don't have enough quality.
I think if you had to ask me which three would go down right now, I think Watford will go down.
Yeah.
I think they will. But then with regards to sort of the other three, because I don't think Everton will get dragged into it too much. And like I said, for Donny's sake, they better not. But I think, you know, it's a massive period coming up for them now. You know, obviously they've just come sort of off the back end of the festive period where there's been lots of games, and you know Norwich and Newcastle have done okay. They started to pick up points from it, but it's from now to the end of the season. They've got to keep that momentum going. If there's any slight drop off, that might be too much for them to recoup come the last 5 game running. So it's too close to call, I think, at the minute for the other two that go down. But I do think I can't see Watford staying up. I really can't.
I think it's Watford, Newcastle, Norwich. That would be my shout.
I'm going to shock you all here. I think Leeds United are going down.
I was leaning.
I think Leeds are getting dragged into this, and I will tell you why. I know quite a few Leeds fans, and they are absolutely petrified. They have not bought anyone in this transfer window. They have an injury crisis. Their squad is burnt out, and I'm not joking. Their stats this season are horrifying. Defensively,
They got Dan James. That's all right.
I think he's going to be playing Cardiff City away next season, personally, because do you know what? Newcastle and Norwich, I actually think could get out of this. And I love Dean Smith, and I do think that there is a part of me that could see Norwich actually stay in the Premier League. They weren't in my bottom 3 at the start of the season because I was a big fan of who they bought in. Yes, they haven't gelled to a certain extent, but in a one-off game in the big 6-pointers, I backed Dean Smith to get points against any manager down there. And I do think that Norwich are beginning to show signs. That Watford game, Norwich were unbelievable. Yes, granted, Watford were terrible, but Norwich looked a really good side. If players like Josh Sargent can actually start contributing, Norwich could avoid the drop against all odds. And at the moment, I am genuinely torn between Norwich and Leeds for that 3rd place. But I do think Burnley and Watford are going to go down. It is between Norwich and Leeds for me because I do think Newcastle will get out of it. I trust Eddie Howe. I do trust him and the players that they've brought in. I do think they'll stay up. And there it is. Aubameyang is at Barca, and I'm going to put the thing up. That is
He's
breaking
washed
news.
Anyway. He's so washed.
Obama who? Obama what? Obama Blood Clot Yang is a Barcelona player, as confirmed by Morg. So Morg, thank you for that. But just to wrap up the relegation saga, really, look, I think Burnley have got talent in Maxwell Cornet, but I don't think one player is going to keep them up. I'd love Villa to go and get Cornet next season when they're in the Championship, but I don't think he'll keep them up. I think Leeds are in a really worrying situation because, like I said, injury crisis, haven't bought anyone in. I cannot believe they have not tried to sign anyone. Like, it is baffling, absolutely baffling. I don't know what's going on there. Norwich, look, it's going to be tight with them. Dean Smith isn't exactly working with the players that he wants. They spent a lot in the summer transfer window, which now means they couldn't really spend anything in the January transfer window. So if Dean Smith keeps them up, he deserves immense credit for that. I mean, Watford, we could be here all week, boys, talking about Watford. But look,
that could be a podcast on its own.
It could be a pod on its own. I mean, if I was to briefly brush past Watford, absolute shambles. Roy Hodgson will stabilise that defence, no doubt. He will better them at the back. He will make them hard to beat. However, I don't think they've got the attacking players, especially with Sarr still out, to stay in the Premier League. So I think they are as good as gone. But to finish for tonight, because obviously we have been on for a little while, I've got this question for us. Surprise package. Which club in the we'll go Premier League, but which club has surprised you the most in this transfer window? That could be a good reason. That could be a bad reason. They could have signed absolutely no one like Leeds and you sat here scratching your head. It could be a really good reason like Villa, where they've signed some unbelievable players in this window and really strengthened to kick on this season. Who's been your surprise package out of the 20 Premier League clubs?
I'll let you take this one.
I know I've thrown you under
I'll try and give one of each, one good, one bad. I mean, the bad has to be Man United. I mean, I'm just in utter shock that I'm not in shock. I mean, I'm not really surprised. I'm just disappointed at this point. I mean, that's
the parent line.
It's just absolutely baffling that you can allow them players to leave. You're in a top 4 race. You know there's got to be positions that Rangnick wants, even though he's not going to be there in 6 months' time. There's got to be positions that he wants. There's got to be a war chest there that he can dip into. And the fact we haven't been close to getting anyone really, is just...
Brayden, could I really quickly just throw a curveball at you about your Man United situation? Because if I'm being honest, I knew Man United weren't going to sign anyone. And I knew
that as well. I knew it, but it's clear we do.
I think the reason why you haven't is because you still don't know who's going to be in that hot seat in the summer. And I personally think that there has been a meeting where the club has sat down and gone, what is the point in bringing in any players, because we still have no idea who this next manager is, and what is the point in signing a player for 6 months that the new manager could turn his nose up at? I mean, look at Watford. Watford have literally just bought 2 defenders, and I bet you any money that Roy Hodgson won't like both of them. He might like that Kamara, but they're not his players. So in a way, I can understand it, but I can also understand the other flip of the coin as to why it's frustrating, because United need players. You desperately need players in certain positions. We all know it, but go on, mate, carry on.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, it's difficult when there's no official manager in charge. I don't think, obviously, unless he does win the Champions League, but even then, you never know. He still may not take it. Ralph will be the manager next season. So I understand it's difficult without, after PSG losing again in the Cup tonight, get Pochettino away from Man United. I don't want him anywhere near us, to be brutally honest. There is only one man for the Man United job, and that is Erik ten Hag. And there's no one else better suited to that job than that bloke. He's done it at Ajax. He doesn't need more time to prove himself. He's done it at Ajax. He's ready for the big stage. And of course, United is the biggest club in the world. I'll still stand by that. And it's going to be a massive test for him if he does come in. But I believe he's ready for it. So I get it. It's difficult without, I guess, properly knowing who the gaffer is. But at the same time, there has to be some conversations in that boardroom going, well, hang on a minute. We're trying to get in the top 4 here. We're in the FA Cup. We're in the Champions League. We've let players go. We've had players out injured this season. Do we have enough squad depth to compete? If we let these players go and we're not going to replace them, you might as well keep them. You might as well do that. I get the Donny one because Pogba's coming back in. I can allow him to go because he wasn't playing. He's not going to now. Pogba's coming back. But the likes of Martial, I know there was stuff going on between him and Rangnick as well. I don't really know who signed him on for that and who was correct and who wasn't. But like Ahmad, and it's just baffling. Like, we're just letting these players go and not replacing them. Like I said, the wingers is the most worrying position because, like I said, we've only got Alanga, Sancho, Rashford, and I guess Lingard, and that's it really, unless you're going to start playing Mata out there, which is not good. So United is the worst surprise package, but again, like I said, I'm not really surprised. I'm just sort of like, I'll try not to swear, but for God's sake. Surprised me the most in a good way. Do you know what? I kind of want to go with I think Villa have done really well. Yeah, I think Villa have done well before even looking at you there. I think Villa have done well. I think Digne, Coutinho, 2 really good signings. Chambers, interesting one. Be interesting to see how he does. I know you got 5 players in, so I know you have to remind me of the other 2.
Olsen and
That's
a young Scottish lad by the name of Kerr, who is going into our academy. But we have on this transfer window.
So we'll forget them 2 and stick to just the 3 main ones really, because Olsen's been passed round like a player cold arm or something. So I think Villa have done well this window. Obviously, Gerrard come in. Was it during January or just before? So he had a bit of time to prepare for the window and then get players in. Again, I said to Kieran, I would have liked to have seen what maybe have happened if Lampard had gone in a bit earlier to Everton, 5 days earlier or something, just, gives an extra 5 days to maybe get a couple of players in. But I'll probably end up giving it to Newcastle. And the reason I'll give it to Newcastle is I think their signing's actually been quite good. They haven't really, I wouldn't look at any of their signings and go, that's a bit of a waste of money. Like Chris Wood, 25 million. Okay, he hasn't had the goals this season, but they did weaken Burnley, albeit they brought in Weghorst. He can score goals in the Prem if he gets service. He's going to have some Maximin, supplying him. Obviously, Dan Burn, I think, is a good defender. Again, he needs to adapt. Target Trippier, 2 good fullbacks. Bruno Guimaraes speaks for himself. So I think they've done really well there in that aspect. So I think they're probably the standout because obviously when we heard of the takeover, we were expecting big deals from them in this January window. I mean, of course, talk is better than actions. So, I think with what they've had available to get in, I think they've done well. I think they probably would have liked to have got that French striker in. I'm not, again, going to pronounce his name. But unfortunately, they couldn't get that one over the line. So I'll probably give it to Newcastle because I think despite, obviously, the investment, they're always going to invest. They're always going to bring in loads of players. But they've done it well, I think. I think they've done it well with the money, and they haven't really wasted or overpaid too much. And, people tell me United tax doesn't exist. Newcastle just signed Trippier for 15 million. They wanted 30 in the summer from us.
Yeah.
Just quickly before I answer my side, Fabio Carvalho has collapsed to Liverpool.
Wow.
The medical was done, but the paperwork were not fully signed. The club said full agreement, but they knew they were in a race against time. Liverpool, Fulham and Carvalho will try to find a solution in the summer. That's from Fabrizio Romano.
That's Fulham not sending the paperwork. That's just there like, hang on a minute. Oh, no, we made a mistake. Where's the Tipex?
So, bit of breaking news there, guys. Wow, Fabio Carvalho to Liverpool has broken down, so he will be a Fulham player until the end of the season at least.
Unlike Steven Sessegnon.
Yeah. Well, there you go. So, Morg, biggest surprise, good and bad. You want to say Villa for best surprise. Come on, Morgan, say it here. Just do the full house.
My negative is Arsenal.
Ooh.
Because I don't think they signed anyone. And
actually, sorry, just quickly on the sorry, Morgan, I'm being rude interrupting there. What a shambles they've been. Yeah. Sorry. We can't play our games. We haven't got enough players. Pablo, what's that? You want to go on loan? No bother, pal. Maitland, carry on. What's that? Kolasinac, you want to leave on free? Yeah, see you later. You want out? What's that? We've got to play Burnley away on a Tuesday night at 7:45.
Nah,
it's raining. Oh, no, we can't do that. But COVID, we've had one COVID. Yeah, COVID. AFCON. Yeah, that's COVID. Yeah, sorry, I can't play this, lads.
That's brilliant.
What's happening? Like, What are they doing?
But that's
You know what?
that's pretty much where I build my point from. Is they're a club pushing for the top four. That is where
That's
Arsenal should be
class.
going for. That's the race they're in now. They're in that race with West Ham, United, Tottenham for that final top four spot. They've signed no one. They've put loads of their games off because of COVID. They've let players of pedigree go for either loans or nothing. Very little. Look at Callum Chambers to Villa.
Yeah.
They've weakened themselves at a time when they were probably in a very good position to go, we want you, you, and you, and you're going to come here because finally the Arteta project looks like it's going in the right direction. I get the Aubameyang one because he's obviously done something behind the scenes and he needed to be shown the door by Arteta for management purposes. But they don't. I mean, I'm happy to see them not sign anyone, but it baffles me that the position they're in, they just let it peter out to nothing. They're not in a position of a Chelsea where they can rely on the quality that the squad already has because they've proven that a couple injuries in that squad is severely weakened to about a mid-table sides.
Mhm.
So, no, Arsenal are very much in the wrong for me, and I am going to go for the easy choice and go Newcastle. I agree with Braden on every point. They've obviously had this multi-billion, however much backing they've had, and they've spent it in the right way. They haven't gone for the Mbappe, the Neymar, which of course they were going to be linked with, but they've gone for sensible players that right now fit the club and will get them back to mid-table. Then once they've done that job, then they can go for the European players. It's going to be a slow project like City were when Sheikh Mansour first came in, but it started in the very best way possible.
I also
I
think,
think-
just quickly on that, I think they've got as much of, course, their money is an aspect of it. I think you've got players that, okay, maybe Bruno and Trippier may not fall into this bracket, but I think you've got players that probably do want to play for Newcastle.
Well,
Look
Dan
at
Burns' boyhood club.
Exactly. Dan Burns, a childhood club. Target's obviously a loan, which means, he ain't going to be receiving a fat paycheck at the minute. And Chris Wood's used to a scrap. Not in that way, but he's used to a relegation battle. So
I'm sure
he might be partial to a scrap. You never know.
But he is from New Zealand.
I'm not gonna, tell him what he does and doesn't do outside of football. But I think they've got players that will fight for him and care about wanting to keep them in the Premier League, rather than spending big money on players who don't necessarily want to be there as much. Will pick up the money. If they get relegated, they'll probably just move on to another club. So, yeah.
I think, do you know what? I think it's really interesting the point you raised, Morgan, about Arsenal. Statistically, I've looked into Arsenal a lot this season, and they are heavily reliant on Martin Odegaard, Bukayo Saka, Emil Smith-Rowe, and Gabriel
And
Martinelli's
you can see that.
products.
Mm-hmm.
And this, especially in the last 5 or 6 games, when those players aren't firing, they really do struggle going forward, creativity-wise. If those players they are very heavily reliant statistically on those players. And I remember when they played Liverpool in the Cup semi-final, and Jurgen Klopp essentially turned around and said, Arsenal are playing with 5 attacking players in their midfield, and how attacking they're playing, he couldn't believe. So I do agree with you in Arsenal in a sense. And if it weren't for the fact that Leeds United, definitely because I don't have an agenda against them. But look, I do think that Leeds have definitely had the worst because they've got an injury crisis and they're an absolute mess right now. They're not getting results. The squad looks drained. The same players last season that look really energetic, the Matthias Klicks, the Luke Aylins, they don't look like the same players that they were last season. So I do think Leeds have missed a massive opportunity for Premier League stability, and I think they've left themselves vulnerable to being dropped into that bottom 3.
Has that squad really changed since they came up?
Well, no, they've brought in Dan James and
Rafinha.
Yeah, it's it's not
It's very
really
much the
changed.
same squad, isn't it? And
Rodrigo.
they played this style under his name's gone up my head.
Bielsa.
Bielsa, that's it. They played the style under Bielsa where they press so much, work so hard off the ball. They need new players to come in to freshen it up, to give these, like you say, the player Luke Aylins a rest.
Well,
They have shot themselves in the foot.
Well, this is ultimately as well. A lot of people don't know. I've been reading Bielsa's book, and he only signs 1-year deals, and this is why, because he knows for a fact that his philosophy and his system is so physically demanding that I don't think Bielsa, has ever lasted longer than 3 seasons at a club. And the reason being is that his philosophy, obviously being as demanding as it is, it's actually scientifically been proven against his philosophy that players cannot meet the physical demands of his play unless he has a massive transition of players. So I am really shocked that he hasn't brought anyone in because Leeds look tired. Bar that performance against West Ham away, which I personally think was a one-off, Leeds have been horrendous this season, and I can't wait in a week or two's time when they come to Villa Park and we absolutely tear them a new one and give Bamford the dread of his life after scoring a hat-trick against us last season. Do you know what? It can be clipped because I'm confident in the Villa boys at home against Leeds. But either way, I guarantee you that Leeds will try and press Villa, and I guarantee you they will not be able to maintain it for the full 90 minutes. The way we play as well, the intensity that we're playing at. Look, either way, I'm going to wrap it up with Leeds anyway. I don't think that they've done well in this window.
So just to get the clip, Villa Morgan thinks Leeds United are going down.
I do. I genuinely do think that Leeds will be down there at the end of the season. I think they could be in for a really tough.
No, it's not the most out there thing I've heard.
No,
it's not like, oh my God, I can't believe this. It's just like
I could say Palace are going down.
Yeah,
that's a bit more.
But now you say it.
What do you mean by that? But yeah, I can see what you mean. I mean, with Leeds, obviously, they haven't lived up to sort of the standards they sort of set themselves last season in terms of where they finish and then the potential to kick on from that. But again, injury crisis could hit them at the minute like it is, and that could take them down. So look, I'm not shocked that you've put them down there, but I just think they might just have enough compared to they've got a philosophy that does work. It does work, and I know it's extremely tiring on the body and stuff, but they've got Bielsa as their manager as well, and of course, that doesn't mean they can't get relegated because he's too good a manager to take them down. But I just think you look at some of the other clubs, Dean Smith, Roy Hodgson now, Eddie Howe, they haven't had as long as he's had to implement the philosophy and what he expects in and out of possession from them. So I think that might just keep them up as well.
I think the only thing that I would say about Leeds is if you've been looking at the bench that they've actually been fielding, their bench for the last 7 games, there hasn't been a single first team player on the bench. They've all been academy players. Leeds are, for me, a Rafinha injury away from being relegated and losing 90% of the rest of their games. And I don't think Leeds fans would disagree with me either. They're relying at the moment on a young Joe Gelhardt, who looks a decent player, but they're relying on him to be a talismanic figure because Bamford has been injured most of the season. I do just think that, although, I do think Leeds probably have enough to stay up, but it really would not surprise me if they got relegated. And I think they will either finish 17th or 18th. I think they're either going to be in the last place in that bottom 3 or they're going to be just outside it. So, and surprise package, I have got to go for Villa as good. I knew Gerrard was going to bring players in. I'm so impressed with Gerrard. I'm sure when we come on again, I'll be able to speak about Gerrard a bit more. But I'm really impressed with everything about him. And Coutinho, I mean, we saw what he could do against Man United. Yes, Everton, he weren't as great, but Everton wasn't really the game for him. Tactically, Buendia ended up being more effective. who's becoming a lot more impressive for us now, signing him in the summer. But I'm really impressed with Luca Digne. I think, what a signing. Agent Rafa, as Darren Farley seems to want to consistently claim, but Agent Rafa's worked his magic and given Everton's best player, in my opinion, to the Villa boys, and help his mate Stevie G out. But look, I'm really happy with the window. Even Callum Chambers, versatile player, can play holding mid, all across the defence. Yes, I'm not happy that we got rid of Matt Target. I'll admit I don't understand it. I think Target, if Digne gets injured, is the perfect replacement, but quite clearly Target wants first team football. So that's why he's gone on loan to Newcastle, and I can't argue with that. But we are going to close it up in a minute. But the last thing I want to say to both of you, and we do have to talk about it for at least 2 to 3 minutes, Chelsea versus the mighty Argyle this Saturday. All three of us will be at Stamford Bridge.
Wow, I hope I'm there.
Hopefully,
unconfirmed.
Are going to be at Stamford Bridge to witness one of the biggest FA Cup exits we have ever seen. But the massive Argyle are going in there, and Joe Edwards is scoring a 90th minute bicycle kick in front of the Plymouth fans. It's happening. Boys, what are we saying for Saturday?
You know what? I went to Anfield 5 years ago as an Argyle fan, and I sat in that away end. Well, I stood in that away end and celebrated a 0-0 draw more than I've celebrated many a win at home park. And honestly, just the day itself was incredible. So if I can have just a day where, I mean, for me to go to Stamford Bridge is incredible. It's the first time I've gone to see a live match, so it ticks all the boxes for me. Just to be able to have that day where you watch Argyle in a game where you can just relax. The outcome isn't what matters.
Yeah,
it's perfect for the club. Just hope that Chelsea give the game the respect it deserves.
Yeah, 100%. Go on, Braden, mate. Look, you introduced me to Plymouth Argyle on those uni calls, and I'll admit I gave you a fair bit of stick. But I am fully on the green side of Devon. I have been Shrewsbury away this season. I have been Shrewsbury away. I've been to so many. Shuey is at the wheel. I need to go Shoe. Shuey is at the wheel. Come on, Plymouth. Look, Braden, mate, I apologise for any stick I gave you about Argyle. I am fully part of the green side of Devon now, and I believe in the mighty Argyle. Go on, mate.
Yeah, well, I'm not gonna lie, I was gutted. I was absolutely gutted because I wasn't able to get hold of a ticket in the old away end because we're so massive. The season ticket holder is just happening. Like it is what it is, and I was gutted. I was like, but I think I'm almost managing to get one in the Chelsea end. So fingers crossed that can go through, and I will be there on Saturday. But yeah, like I said, it's a massive occasion for the club. I mean, I was obviously there at Anfield watching Argyle against Liverpool 2017, I believe.
Yeah.
And that was a great day. Great day. We drew 0-0, but great day. And
that replay was incredible as well.
Replay was incredible. I'm gutted that there's no replays. So, obviously, unfortunately, Argyle, if to get a result, would not be able to bring the tricky Blues back down to home park. But I'll tell you what, I don't think I could envisage, obviously I have to speak about the snake, but I couldn't really envisage that when he sort of come into the club after we got relegated, we'd be in the position we are now, not only obviously in the FA Cup, but in the league and with the project. Off the pitch as well. The project we've got going forward, I think, is fantastic. The way the clubs are now is second to none. You can't really fault it. But again, I also think the managerial change has been superb. I think it's been the correct decision for Shuey to step up, and congratulations to Argyle for sort of acting quicker than I guess Preston to keep Shuey rather than him maybe following that man up there. So
sorry, Brian, I just want to interject there because I've been working very close with a lot of people within Plymouth Argyle this season, and when Ryan Lowe did what he did, even the head of recruitment from Plymouth Argyle said that Schumacher was the brains. He was the brains behind everything at the club, and I really liked how elite a football club Plymouth Argyle acted in that as soon as the news about Ryan Lowe dropped, bang, straight away, Schumacher is the first team manager. It was really pleasing to see because I've seen a lot of the methodology throughout the academy, what's going on at Plymouth, and it's a really exciting time to be an Argyle fan. It really is. I can't stress that enough. You are in very safe hands, and I think you'll be in the Championship in the next 2 years at the very least, because the way you are being run and the people that you've got at that club, I'm fully on board with it, and my expectations are from Villa mainly, and you're not doing much different to what we're doing. So,
that's the thing. We've got people in the club from top to bottom who don't have experience of League One clubs. They have experience of Premier League clubs. Our CEO Andrew Parkinson used to be at Liverpool. Neil Dewsnip, he's pretty much every young English player we get has worked with Neil Dewsnip at some point. Steven Sessegnon, just signed a couple of hours ago, has worked with him in the England youth ages. Everyone knows the state the club was in 10 years ago is so different to where we are now, and it's so pleasing to see that we've been able to get to this point so quickly.
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, I think Chelsea Morgan makes a great point. The 10-year journey we've been on from almost liquidation to now in League One, the prospect of being in a really good playoff race. Hopefully we can finish in there, and obviously we'll see what happens come the end of the season. But again, like I said, like you mentioned, the Shuey obviously appointment. I remember us being sort of in uni at the time, and obviously I was gutted. I was absolutely gutted, and I was like, I was not shocked, but I was like, how does this affect us for the rest of the season? Because we were doing really well as well. But I also couldn't think at the time who we could possibly get in. I know there was names chucked about, but I was like, how are they going to suit us? Is it going to be the same as the way the club's philosophy is, and everything like that, and their vision? But to have Shuey just come in, and obviously big risk. He's never been a number one before, so but he's taken to it pretty well. Obviously, there's been a few odd results like losing to Lincoln and last minute, obviously the Sheffield Wednesday one, but that happens. That's normal. So I'm obviously going to slay him for stuff like that. But no, it's exciting to be an Argyle fan at the minute. I'm proud as always to be an Argyle fan, always repping. I'm gutted that obviously. I can't make it to as many games as I used to do because it's your life. It is your life, and when
I'll do it for you now, mate.
Yeah, you do it for me. The only thing you don't do is sit on a stool behind the goal, mate, and freeze your butt off on a cold Tuesday night watching Wickham. So
lived that for 6 years.
It becomes part of your life, and obviously me and Morgan, Chelsea Morgan, been there, done it, got the t-shirt, and had some great moments there being ball boys, and for me as well, it's been a hell of a journey. I mean, it's been incredible, and the club, it's pleasing to see us back on our feet again. And like you said, Championship's the aim, but bugger that, I want to be in the bloody Premier League. Get us in that big guns. I mean, we need to be in it soon. We need to be in it for a city as big as us. We need to be in the Prem at some point. But obviously, I know little steps at a time. And like I said, 2 seasons in the Championship, but let's focus on this season. We've got a chance.
And the situation with Ryan Lowe, obviously, look, I can't. I met the bloke, lovely guy. Seemed to really, really love and understand the city of Plymouth, and I was really shocked. I've got to be honest. and I did speak to him. I did speak to him about the transfer of him going to Preston, and he just wanted to wish Plymouth the best. At the end of the day, it was an opportunity for him to go closer to his family and relocate. And unfortunately, the situation was that he wanted to go and manage in the Championship. And yes, what he said afterwards, I was very shocked, because hearing him speak to me and other cohorts at my work and tell us what he did, to then hear him on interviews in Preston TV saying that Plymouth Argyle had no methodology, no nothing when I came
Here's
in.
our identity, mate. We're massive. We take numbers everywhere. We're loud. We're proud. It's unreal, mate. We have pasties. What more do you want?
I found it very, very poor professionalism wise from his point of view to actually call Argyle out like that. I personally think, and look, I can neither confirm or deny whether this is true or not, but a lot of people are speculating that there was a fallout, and that is ultimately why Ryan Lowe has acted the way that he has in this. I can neither confirm or deny that information, but I just think personally that I was a bit disappointed to see how he spoke about Plymouth, considering that Plymouth gave him the opportunity and the platform to continue in management after Berry expelled from the EFL. So yeah, a bit of a poor situation, really.
Well, it looked like there was a fallout because of how poorly the performances had turned and how quickly they turned.
Yes.
Because all of a sudden we went from 16 unbeaten to an unrecognisable Argyle, losing 2-0 away at Charlton, and then very poorly giving up.
I was there and we were there, Morgan. That was poor.
Yeah. It was a poor game.
Before that as well.
We were 16 unbeaten. We were very good.
Yeah, you were brilliant. I remember going to watch Plymouth Bolton on a Tuesday night, and the famous Ryan Broom goal was scored.
By the way, Broomy, sign the thing, mate. Sign it.
Yeah, he's class. He is Broomy, but look, I was there for Plymouth Bolton, and every Plymouth game I've been to this, I haven't seen Plymouth lose. I haven't actually seen Plymouth concede. I've seen them score 16 goals and not concede a single one. So, and that's even going away. They've been, when I was watching them, I haven't been for a little while now because I've been busy and I've managed to go up the Villa a couple of times. But honestly, they've been fantastic. But we are going to wrap it up. So really, really quickly, I want a score prediction from all three of us. Chelsea, Plymouth, Argyle. What are we saying? Braden, what are we saying?
Now, I would like to say 1-0 Plymouth.
I'll have a head and a heart answer here.
Okay. My heart says 1-0 Plymouth. We batter it out. Lukaku gets pocketed by Danskar. We're absolutely Pan's running rings around Kante. He's taking him for a Sunday walk. But my heart says we will draw. We'll go the long way. We might take it to penalties, and then it's going.
Wow,
that's my heart. I think the way we've got to look at it is we've been, the way Argyle have been. We've been to Wembley. We've been to obviously Anfield. We haven't had a big moment to really celebrate in a long, long time. I just feel that there's got to be something coming soon. There has to be something, and what a better chance to do it than away at Stamford Bridge. So that's what I'm going to go for.
Morg, head and heart answer. It's kind of a catch-22 with you. Really,
it is a catch-22 for me.
Yeah, being a Chelsea fan.
Obviously,
we have spoken about this, though. We have
spoken about this, and I am on the day I am Argyle. There is no question. On the day I am Argyle, I'm
good because you can have my tickets in the Chelsea end.
But so I'll agree with Braden's heart 1-0 Argyle.
Okay.
Head 3-1 Chelsea. To be honest, I just want an Argyle goal. Don't care about anything else. I just want to celebrate a goal.
It's really
even in the Chelsea end, I might break a limb or two.
Oh, See, I've got to be really careful because in the corporate area that we've managed to get, it is Chelsea. It is pure Chelsea. So if we celebrate, I've openly went out on a limb and said that if Joe Edwards scores a 90th minute winner, I am screaming the place down. I don't care if it's Chelsea or not. I'll get battered. I don't care. But it's interesting that you said 3-1 Chelsea. That's what my head's saying as well. I do think it will be 3-1 Chelsea, maybe even 4-1 Chelsea, because Chelsea didn't go light on Chesterfield. If you actually see the team they put out for that, it was ridiculous.
That was a mental team.
So I think they're going to do the same against Argyle.
Well, plus it's the last warm-up for the Club World Cup.
Exactly. So
yeah, but Argyle are better than half the teams in the Club World Cup. Let's be real. I mean, Jimbo from the chip shop played for them. Like, Argyle would hammer them.
I'll tell you what, right? Just to sort of try and swerve back on, right? I think it'll be two shell roulette. But I do think I'm going to go with 1-1, my heart. I think Argyle will score first. Chelsea will struggle to break them down. I think they'll get a goal 50-60th minute and Argyle will take them to extra time. And I think that Chelsea will then win on pens. So I've got to be honest, I cannot see it, but I would love nothing more than to see Plymouth Argyle because I think it win there because I think it'd be such a merit to the way the club's ran and the way that Shuey has stayed on and not gone off to Preston with Ryan Lowe, and just how elite a football club it's become. I'll admit I haven't seen it in the state that it was, that you two have. And to see it now at its pinnacle, they are a really attractive football club, and I can firmly say that they are my second team fully. So,
Argyle are massive, but Ryan Lowe.
Argyle
are massive, but Ryan Lowe.
But look, we hope that you all enjoyed this stream. Look, it's been a long one today. Obviously, if you didn't catch it, go back and watch yesterday's one. It was my ugly mush for 40 minutes, talking about Everton, Watford, just a general Premier League update. But we have been back today with Morg and Braden. Firstly, boys, I'd like to say thank you for joining us. Hopefully, content is going to return to this channel at some form of regular rate, and we will try and get these two lovely boys back on. Hopefully, after an Argyle win.
Of course,
I'm sure we have to do an Argyle special if that actually pulls off.
Definitely,
I'll be pissed.
I can't lie. I can neither confirm or deny if I'll be drinking on the day. I have to be careful with the club. But look, we are. Well, yeah, that's it today. A deadline day special. There has been some fantastic deals, even a manager appointment in Frank Lampard. So, bit of a quiet deadline day compared to most, but no doubt it has been brilliant. Thank you all for watching. Please like and comment. Drop a comment of what you believe is the best January transfer signing and who won the January transfer window. And if you could pop that Villa and Argyle are massive, I'll throw Chelsea and United in as well. They're all massive. Let's say that every club that we all support.
We're all gargantuan.
But thank you for watching, guys. Take it easy, and we will see you all soon.